Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's Dwayne with Off Grit. Figured today I was just going to give you all a quick tour of what's been going on this week on the homestead, some of the projects we got going on, and here we go. Alright, so up on the hilltop here, got my wife going into the shipping container to get some supplies. That actually is going to be part of our house. We got our utility shed over here where we keep tools and bins and things like that. Got a couple piles of gravel, got some actual cement mix, and I got some mortar sand. Had those delivered. By having them delivered and mixing my own mortar and my own concrete, I save over 50%, and plus I save a lot of travel and things like that and putting weight on your truck because they're bringing most of the weight here. I just have to go get the cement. So moving over here, this is something I don't know if I've shown this on a video or not, but I figured I'd show y'all. This is a cage that it's actually a kennel that I had welded before we left on our 20 year anniversary trip to Hawaii, which was awesome, by the way. Missing it right now. And this is a cage that was welded, and it's actually pretty sweet. I did it with scrap steel and then used some cattle panel to put it all together. It's quite large, at least tall anyways, but we needed a place to keep our dogs just so they didn't get eaten by coyotes and my neighbor would come feed them. Now this features a top door that opens up, so you could just go in and dump the food in there, or you could do both of them and then you can walk in. So I can walk inside this thing, and there it is. Now I had it between this pallet shed and our chicken coop, but we're doing some work in some work right here with like drainage. I got to build like a little canal through here so when the monsoons come through here that the water has a place to go, so I had to move it. And I started looking at it and I started thinking about, we need to get like a large cistern out here because we have to have places to store our water. Totes are great and all, but you know, the fact is by the time you put them all together to make a giant enough cistern, you know, you will save money, but I was thinking of doing something different. And I was thinking, well, I want to do an in-ground cistern because, number one, some of the complaints I see online about these plastic tanks is that, you know, the water can kind of taste funny. It can get kind of weird and funky because it's out in the sun, and you know, you get any light in these things or any contaminants in them, it can breed contaminants and things. So I want to have something in the ground, like an in-ground cistern, and it also makes it easier for us to drain our water catchment directly into the ground than to have it in separate totes and, you know, have to configure all that. So by looking at this, you know, I'm thinking very much about doing a ferro cement cistern out of this, because I already got the frame together, and this is a lot of gallons. I forgot I had calculated it before, but I totally forgot. But it's thousands of gallons of water that could be stored in this. And with ferro cement, basically it's a mixture of sand and Portland cement, and you can put some plasticizers and stuff to waterproof it, but basically you make this mesh over top of all this, and once you make the mesh, you put the ferro cement on and it hardens up, and there you go. People make them all over the world. I'm simplifying the process a lot, but that's what I'm going to be, you know, thinking about doing with this, and then possibly putting it in the ground right over here behind the pallet shed. So that's what we got going on here. And then next, I should say my wife actually took our goats and made them a little condominium over here. I'd go in, but they're a pain, so I'm not going to go in there. But basically there's all these cool little buildings. There's a few buildings that are attached, so they can go in there and do all kinds of cool goat stuff. So we were working on that. Now I'm going to take you over. Showed you the tractor already. Been just using it to move stuff around. It's been saving my back a little bit. We'll see how long it runs before I have to fix it. But what else? So in the pallet shed, there's my wife Teresa. Hi Teresa. Okay, she doesn't like to be filmed. So looking in here, I just poured a cement slab, did it in 4 sections, and now my wife is going to be laying tile in here. We're doing it a little backwards, you know, before we do the walls and everything, but I have some other projects I got to get done in the meantime. But this is just a normal concrete slab here. It's not the neatest looking because I didn't put a final surface coat on it because we're putting tile over top of it anyways, but basically my wife has some nice tile that she got, and we're going to be using that. Okay, so now I'm over here at the Earthbag structure once again. So what I've been doing on this is putting, you can see the stone masonry work here. That's where that mortar cement comes in, that mortar sand. Basically what I do is I mix 9 sand, 2 Portland cement, 1 lime. That's the formula. So 2 Portland cement, 1 lime, 9 sand. That's what I use. So mix that up, and then basically what I'm doing is taking stones from our property and putting them in the mix here, and then I have this billboard vinyl tarp underneath here that goes all the way around the building for a moisture barrier. As you can see, it goes up about 2 feet, comes out about 2.5 foot, and this is just so when it rains down here, the barrier protects the base of this structure from getting wet. And it looks cool. And of course, you know, I'm doing some patch-up work here on the roof area, getting some stucco up there, and also to add to the projects, I'm over here. I'm going to show you guys real quick. I'm not going to go in the RV because it's a mess in there right now, but we've been doing some reconfiguring because it's about time for us to upgrade our solar. Been living off of this here for almost a year now. As you can see, I just have the panels laying here on some pallets and have some rocks on them so they don't blow over, and I've literally had these out here for a year like this. Not the way you want to do it, folks, but I mean, honestly, I haven't had any issues. Things have been working fine. Obviously, I want to do a permanent solar array, but when you're out here, you know, you gotta kind of go back and forth on decisions, you know, on how you want to do it, where you want to put stuff, how much you want. So there's a lot of indecisiveness sometimes out here, so sometimes you just kind of got to make things work while you're figuring it out. But we kind of sat down and figured it out and said, okay, it's time to do an upgrade. So what I'm going to be doing here, in addition to all these other projects, I'm going to be putting together a power wall inside the RV. There's a section there, and basically I'm going to be setting up all of my components. I'm going to have a couple inverters ran in parallel. I'm going to rewire everything. I'm going to get some lithium batteries and get everything done up right. I think I've shown you guys a couple videos of the setup I have in here. It's not a bad setup. We just need something bigger. Now, the reason I'm going to set it up in the RV is because we actually don't have a utility room yet for our solar on this property, and eventually this is where our house is going to be, over here. So what I want to be able to do is set up the setup inside here and have it to where it can be removed, but I don't have to take all the components apart and, you know, take the inverter off and do all that and have to rewire everything. I want to be able to just have it basically on some, you know, like a nice platform, and then I can bring it, and then when we have our utility shed built or our utility room, I can actually just replace it in there and then hook it up to the array. Now, the array that we're going to go with, we had actually initially we were going to just do something here and have a couple arrays out here and then put a garden underneath here. But what I decided is that instead of that, what we want to do is we're gonna, I forget how many panels we're gonna end up having, but I think we're at 56 panels I counted. So I'm gonna have this big solar array. I think it comes out to, I don't know, 13 to 14 kilowatts for that. Gonna have 12,000 watts on the inverters, and then on the batteries I think we came out to somewhere around 30 kilowatts for the batteries. So it's going to be a decent sized system. But what we want to do with these panels is I want to actually set up, because on our site plan we have a carport that we're going to be building out here. So instead of just, you know, putting a carport up and then building a solar array, whether you're doing a ground mount or you're doing something on the roof of your build, whatever the case, we decided we wanted to go ground mount. So in my personal opinion, if you're going to go ground mount on your solar, why not turn it into some kind of usable structure? Because the money you're going to be spending on that, you know, basically you just make it taller and make it a little more secure, and there you have a carport. Kind of like when you go to Walmart or any of these places now and you have the shade structures with the solar panels on top. That's what we're doing. So basically our carport is going to double. It's going to have a solar array on top of it, so it'll shade our vehicles, and we'll have a cement or concrete pad underneath it, and therefore I'll be knocking out 2 birds with 1 stone. I'll be saving a lot of money by not having to build a separate carport and then do a separate ground mount unit and all that. So this is why it's good to kind of take time and think these things out, because by doing that we're going to save thousands of dollars, and you know, it's going to be more efficient that way. Now initially I wanted to do a ground mount single pole so I could adjust the panels and move them around to follow the sun, and I like that concept, but honestly the panels aren't that expensive compared to the rest of the stuff, and I'd rather just get more panels and just make our carport big, you know, that way, because it was going to be, you know, a decent sized carport. I think it comes out to about 800 square foot. So that's what we're up to. Walking towards the shipping container. I want to talk to you all about shipping containers. So a lot of people, you know, the price on these things are really high right now. We paid like $7,500 to have this thing delivered, and it's a one trip, meaning it's practically brand new. Inside it's fresh paint, the floors are new. Really nice unit, because we're going to be building our houses out of these things. You know, I don't want it all dented up and have to, you know, sandblast it to, you know, remove all the chunky paint and all that. So I wanted something nice and clean, because a couple of them are going to be facing out that way, and I don't want to have to be pounding dents out of sheet metal and things like that. So we wanted something new. Now they're expensive, and right now what we're doing is using this to store our delicate stuff and our supplies. And I will say this, I have a shed over here that I'm still working on. Have a pallet shed down there, have an Earthbag structure, I have an RV, and this thing here, even though it's much more expensive, it is the only thing out here that keeps the rats and the freaking bugs and the creepy crawlies out. It's very tightly sealed, and you know, nothing gets in here except for when we leave the door open. But I'm telling you, if you really want to make sure you don't get rats and stuff, you know, into your stuff, this is the way to go. It really is. Yeah, you'll save money building structures yourself, but they're not going to be rodent proof like this thing is. And you know, this thing, it can be moved around, and you know, it's very useful to have one of these. So we didn't want to spend the money on something like this, but since we decided we're going to build our house out of containers, it was like, well, why not? So anyways, if you're thinking about it and on the fence, if you can find a good deal on one, you should scoop one up, because now I tell you, it's almost a necessity out here for us, because I don't like leaving my stuff. You know, the mice and the rats, and they piss all over your stuff if they find it, and it's really just gross. So anything you hold dear, you can put in here and keep it nice and safe. So, you know, we in the back here, we got, you know, all kinds of building materials, you know, that are sitting back there. And if my wife keeps her clothes nice in here, and it's just nice to have a building like this that's kind of off limits from everything else. And you can close this sucker up. It's got seals on the door, and like I said, it's airtight. So that's the tour, folks. Hope I gave you some information that's useful, just to show you what we've been doing. My name's Dwayne, Off Grit, and I've been out here for over a year now with my wife and my son, and we're trying to build a farmstead from the ground up, and we're making a lot of progress. The farm's going to be up and running soon, so I'll be doing lots of videos on that. So I would appreciate if you subscribe and like and pass this on to people you might know. If anybody that's interested in this kind of thing, it really helps. And I'll talk to you soon.